Welcome to RCS. I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, recording live at the Mt Si Tavern.
Yeah, dreams do come true, people.
Yep,
You
it's
work
true.
hard enough. You know, being a small farm boy from the Palouse, I always knew someday.
We did the big time.
Yeah. Not only are we broadcasting from the Mt Si Tavern, it's closed. And
Yeah.
we're in the tavern. They don't know we're here, so don't tell anybody.
It's a big parking lot.
It is.
We snuck over the fence.
It is.
The door was unlocked.
It's not
fine.
a high fence. It's not a high fence. But,
We'll talk more about how that happened. But first, we are brought to you by Avance, Curter, Subaru, Haggerty, of course, Rainier Beer.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to tell the story?
Yeah.
I had a rough weekend.
Yeah. How are you, Nick?
I've had better weeks. It's been so nice here, you know, and we have you and I have those electric skateboards, and mine put me in the emergency room this week.
Oops.
So
Hey, we warned people about that.
I went to the store and I was coming back, and you could not write this for Saturday Night Live. There was a little squirrel in the middle of the road. I decided to swerve. And, I mean, thank God I had all my safety gear on, and thank God they still give out hydrocodone at the emergency room. I'm scraped up, and I felt all my weight on my scapula, but they did a scan, nothing's broken. I don't fully believe that because I'm still having trouble breathing, but, you know.
Could have bruised some ribs, man.
You know what really helps? Drugs and a beer. So, yeah.
I'm driving, so
yeah,
everybody's
Dan's
aware.
driving. I just, you know.
We should point that out.
I didn't take my pain meds before I came here, but so yeah, it's been rough, you know. And I called my mom, and I'm like, the best part was like, and I want to say this, and it sort of pissed me off. I laid on that trail for probably 15 minutes, and people drove by me. Like I was off the side of the road, but there's a lot of people that saw me there, and nobody stopped. So
well, they're used to seeing people pass out on the side of sidewalks around here.
yeah, but you could tell because there was a glove, then the remote, then the board, then my jacket, another glove, the helmet, then me. There was a large debris field. So next time I'm aiming for the squirrel. So I'm a little squirmy tonight.
Yeah.
They're finding positions to sit and things like that, and it's been fun. But I had my safety gear on, and it was. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a runoff because of a rabbit.
Yeah.
I got lucky. Yeah, I had a rabbit come out in front of me on my board, but I was able to slow down enough and then run off the board without tumbling through it. But I mean, yeah,
I was not able to run off it.
I remember that episode clearly. We said like, you got to have safety gear. This is not like just slowly riding a longboard down a path.
Well, the funny thing was, I got up and then I rode the board another 3 miles home, which I had to look like a zombie because my shoulder was all like down, and like nobody was really looking at me. And I get back home and my leg hurt, but I didn't think about it. And so I called my parents, like, you know, a good 41-year-old person does, and said, "Mom." So she said, I said, "I'm going to drive myself in the emergency room." My dad's like, "Well, I'll meet you there." And they got me in there, and they asked me to put on a robe, and I've got road rash pretty much down the side of my thigh. I didn't know it was there. So, but you know, lesson learned. I'll need a new helmet. I fully
You
took out my helmet, which is good. You know,
that's what it's there for. Better your helmet than your skull.
Funny thing is, I've got scrapes on my hands, but I was wearing gloves, so I'm not really sure how that happened. But yeah. So, no, I wasn't wearing the watch. I thought about that too, but yeah, that would have been even worse. So,
Well, I mean, I've gotten road rash on motorcycles through gear tons and tons of times. Like, you'd be surprised, just the friction between the material and your skin. It holds your skin on, but it can hurt a lot.
the worst thing is, I was sitting there, and you know, it hurts. It knocked the wind out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting there like half crying and half laughing because I'm listening to the noises that are coming out of my body, like a wounded mule, and I'm trying to not laugh at myself. And then I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'll call Dan, and I'm gonna get up and ride myself home. Oh, it was horrible, but lesson learned. And then the worst part is it's been really nice the last few days, and I've sort of been in the house recovering, so it's been lesson learned, I guess.
Oh man. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah, God, we're getting too old for this. What did you say? I sent down a text message. I'm like, ask me how my night was, and I showed him a picture of my leg and like my medical bracelet. He's like, we're old and feeble. I'm like, yeah, I know. We're old and feeble. So
It hurts more now, man.
God, it does. It's recovery too. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
It takes a lot longer than it used to.
I understand now. My grandparents would sit there. My grandfather would be like, I can't get comfortable. I'm like, oh, boy, do I feel your pain. So, yeah.
I was working out today, and I was just doing just the windmills for range of motion, and it was just like snap, crackle, pop. And I'm like, I'm not exercising. I'm just moving my arms. Like all those years of riding motorcycles, playing outside, and hurting myself are coming to haunt me.
The part that I had to laugh about the most is I'm having trouble, like, getting up and out of bed. Like I figured it out now because my back and stuff like that. So the first night the second night I really couldn't sleep. And so I went out on my couch, and my couch, there's one part that comes into a recliner. So I got myself in the recliner. I'm totally comfortable. And somehow in the middle of the night, the recliner had unplugged itself. So I get up in the morning and I'm laying on this recliner and I'm hitting the button and it's not doing anything. So then there was a 15-minute thing of like me trying to roll out of the recliner and not hurt myself or fall on the floor or get like, I'm going, it's like, learned a lesson. And then, of course, I had to figure out how to plug the recliner back in, which is under the Christmas tree now, and I had to disassemble my train and everything. So I laid on the ground for a while. So it has been live entertainment.
I'm waiting for the phone call. I've fallen and I can't get up.
You about got it. I was about to drop a pin where I was and been like, come get me and take me to the emergency room. This one's, this will tell you how freaking cheap I am. So, and I'm not suggesting any of this. So where I live in Sammamish, above Metropolitan, there is an Overlake Swedish emergency room right there.
Yeah.
So I call up my people at Kaiser Permanente because that's who I have my insurance through, and I'm like, hey, if I go there, what's the cost? And she goes, oh, don't worry. And she goes, it's only a 30% deductible if you go there. And I'm like, nope, I'll drive to Bellevue.
Yeah. And
I've got a rental Carter Subaru Crosstrek that's got all the eyesight, so I just let it drive me to Bellevue. So yeah, that was fun.
Well, there's that whole new way of people that'll like order an Uber instead of an ambulance. Yeah. And they're like, it's just a gunshot wound.
She goes, it'll only cost you 30% if you go there. Never mind, I'll go to Bellevue.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep. Need to save money for beer.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I did love how when I sent you that text, you weren't at all shocked. You're like, are you okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I've crashed on my board before.
Absolutely. Oh, I've crashed on your board before.
Right. Yeah. Into a bush at my house. Yeah.
Yeah. I ran my head into your neighbor's bush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Take that for what you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our Carter Subaru tip of the week doesn't really have anything to do with that, but
safety is important.
But safety is important. Wear your gear. This is why.
Yeah.
So we talked about it in the last episode. We've been doing snow wheeling almost every weekend. Probably not this weekend, so your back doesn't so you can walk again the next day.
Yeah.
But I had a bunch of ice buildup under the truck, all over the place. Ice, and you could hear it every time the suspension moved. I don't know.
I did hear it.
You heard it, yeah. And so one of the things I usually keep in the car, and I totally forgot, for that reason, not for the reason it's designed, is de-icer. And when you do a bunch of snow off-roading, you're going to get a bunch of snow in places that can jam up on the inside of your wheels and the inside of your brakes. And it actually can be a bit of a safety issue when it's all over your brakes because it'll slowly melt, but you'll basically have wet brakes all the time until it melts off. And it happens pretty quickly, but...
And it can throw your wheels off balance, too.
Yeah, it can't. Actually, that happened to somebody to pull over and knock the snow out of their wheels. So one quick tip, if you have de-icer in your car, which I think you should, it's great for your windows, but it's also good for spraying on your brakes in a pinch when you need to get all the extra snow off your suspension bits, stuff like that. It'll wipe off anyway. But, quick little tip, just always carry de-icer with you when you go snow wheeling because, one, if you get stuck, you can get iced up, and it's a really quick way to de-ice. But more importantly, it's more than just your windshield. It's really good really good for quickly thawing your suspension. Now, that said, you got to wash it off. You don't want to let that stuff lay on anything. It's terrible. But this is like in a pinch when things are gummed up and you've got balance issues with your wheels because of it. It's all gummed up in your suspension. This is a quick, easy fix besides laying on the ground and getting under there. But just make sure you wash the underside of your truck. Yeah, or whatever vehicle you're driving. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah. Super quick one, but I usually always have it, and I've used it for that a lot, and it's been great. So anyway, we should probably talk how we actually got to the Mt Si Tavern because we didn't actually jump over the fence.
Secrets.
I mean, it was more of I carry a ladder.
This is sacred ground for me.
I know, right?
This is. I mean, it is a little surreal.
If you're from the Northwest, you've driven by this place. I don't know. My whole life I've been driving by here.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's literally 30 feet off of I-90.
Yeah.
So I mean, I started coming to the Mt Si Tavern when we would come back over from Spokane when we first moved here. And my dad and I would stop here and we'd have a beer. Just one beer before you get home, and it's just it was a fun place. I don't think I've ever seen a more lively, fun place as far as the eclectic individuals that frequent the tavern. So
Yeah, this is our kind of place. If you know Nick and I, this is our kind of place. And
we're not leaving.
Yeah, we travel to places like this. We've made a destination out of going to places like this. We went to the Brooklyn Tavern, which is the most remote tavern you can get to, and this is a lot closer to home and the same kind of good people and good place.
Yeah, but this place doesn't have the trough you can pee in.
That's true.
At the bar.
At the bar.
Yeah.
So, until you can spit in it, you can't piss in it. That's what she said.
Yeah.
But
that's what she said.
We're a slightly classier establishment here. We are with the very cool owner, and who is a massive motorsports enthusiast. And if you are from the Northwest, you probably crossed paths and didn't know it. And that is David Wheaton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for buying this bar.
Oh, man. I'm so glad I was able to buy this bar.
I love this bar.
I love this bar.
We should write a country song like that.
We should. It's our kind of place.
Yeah.
We have every single, we literally, it's like bingo. It's like, we have truckers.
Yep.
I love this place.
You are next to a quick truck stop, so you probably have a few other varieties of people occasionally.
Yeah.
Oh, we have all sorts of different entrepreneurs that work.
That's a really good way to put that.
I like that.
Throughout the valley, providing services.
So us. He means us.
Yeah. Bartenders, cooks, entertainment, such as yourself.
Right. Sure.
So.
Well, let's back this up a little bit. I mean, because like Dan said, people know you kind of from the racing world, but where did you come from originally?
Air Force brat, grew up, moved around a bunch. My dad retired when he had finished up his career after being in the military for almost 30 years and decided to move back to the hometown that he grew up was Monterey, California. And so
we know it well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so my dad was from Monterey. My mom was from Pacific Grove. They met at the junior college there, Monterey Peninsula College, and then went off into the Air Force. And so they had bought a house and had been renting the house out, and they decided when they retired they were just going to move back there. So I grew up, my dad was in Kiwanis, and so he would, their Kiwanis club would sell programs at Laguna Seca.
Oh.
And my dad, being a car guy, throughout the entire Air Force, the entire time I was alive, about for 10 years of his Air Force career, there was always a car in the garage that he was working on. And he had an old Austin Healey. He had a Porsche 356B, 1960. He had a 65 Mustang. And he would buy these cars, and he would do absolutely everything to it except for the paint and the interior. But he would rebuild the suspension. He'd rebuild the motor. And it would take him 2-3 years. And then he would drive it around for a couple of weeks or months and then sell it, and that was his project.
It was about the project to him, not necessarily owning the car.
Always about the project. So then all of a sudden we moved to Monterey. I'd loved cars, been growing up around cars and going to car shows and doing stuff like that. And so now all of a sudden we were selling programs, and so my dad, being a car guy, and other guys in the club, some of them didn't care, they would sell programs on like the Thursday and Friday. We would sell the programs, and then they would sell programs on Saturday and Sunday. But then that way we would get tickets, and we could go on Saturday and Sunday during the race.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And so that way we'd only get 2 tickets. You get a ticket for every day you work, basically. And so we would go burn, load in, and practice, and then be there for qualifying race. And so IMSA races and all sorts of different things like that as a kid. And so seeing the Champ Car race, because October Champ Car, that was the end of the race. That was the end of the season. I mean, like, you're watching guys, the pass and on the corkscrew was for the championship at the end of the season. It's like it was a cool place.
That was a little bit different time too, because they were racing like most weekends at Laguna.
Oh man,
and that doesn't happen now with everybody.
Now there's 5 weekends a year where you can get sound and all the.
If you don't know, and I kid you not, what basically has happened is all of these places have moved in next to the racetrack and built these houses. People have moved into them, and knowing they moved in next to a racetrack, and are now bitching about the sound.
Oh, those people suck.
Oh, yeah. Dude, no, it's so bad. So what it was is, in Monterey, you have the Monterey Airport, which is a cute little airport that nobody can afford to fly in and out of,
right,
unless you like own your own plane. Like everybody that lived there, you fly out of San Francisco or Oakland, because it was cheaper to fly from San Francisco to Frankfurt than it was to fly from Monterey to San Francisco.
Yeah, we always used to fly into San Jose.
San Jose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would never. So when they started and they extended it and started getting bigger planes at Monterey, all of a sudden they were getting bigger planes that are coming in faster, so they had to change where they were landing. So the airport ended up having to pay to put soundproof windows in all of these homes because now all of a sudden this was going to be the flight path, right? So then,
well, one of the house we stay in Monterey, has those windows. Yeah, so because we're right by the airport. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And by the golf course over there, on the Navy golf course.
Yep.
Well, on the other side was Laguna Seca golf course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then, like, swamp and the gun range from Laguna Seca. Because Laguna Seca is a park. It's not a racetrack. It's a park.
Yeah.
That has a racetrack.
Yeah, it just happens to have some nicely paved pavement.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So then this developer comes in, starts building all these $1 million homes, shows them to people on non-race weekends.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then all of a sudden people go, wait, whoa, WTF, we can't be doing this. So then once they built that place, because they had so much money in the homes, were able to get the planes rerouted again so they didn't go over them. And the city had to pay for a bunch of other just normies to get soundproof windows in their homes. And then all of a sudden, we're having to run 91 decibels. California's street legal is 92. There are street cars, like the Subaru, WRX, STI, the stock intake would set off the sound meter.
Oh, yeah. You can't run stock Z06s. You can't run stock GT3 RSs. There's a bunch of stock cars from the factory. They're perfectly street legal but can't be run at Laguna Seca. It's pretty crazy. You know, with that, let's take our first break. It's actually time for our first break, and then we'll be right back.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
And we're back.
I never want to leave.
I know, me either. Yeah. So we were just talking about before the break, sound in Laguna Seca.
Sound
man.
in Laguna Seca.
It takes me off every time down there because I love going down there and I love the racetrack. But it's like if you move next to a racetrack and you complain about sound, you're kind of a terrible person. Kind of end of story.
But he did bring up that point. I didn't think about that they were showing people these homes on non-race weekends. But
the Pacific Raceways,
they run into it too.
These people bought homes for $30,000 because you're attached to a race. Like literally, there's a chain link fence in their parking lot, and all of a sudden one day they're like, "Hey, that's loud." No, it's always been loud, dude.
I didn't realize that. We were out there. We were helping Karl actually for the Avance magazine for the shoot for this year's, and we were only allowed to go around part. We weren't even allowed to do the whole track because we were parking cars on the track and taking photos of them, and they wouldn't even let us drive all the way around. So, oh well.
Yeah, that stuff drives me nuts.
Short drive, yeah.
Anyways.
So I mean, you grew up. So you grew up around the country a little bit with your dad, or around the world, kind of with the Air Force. But when he settled down, you guys were working at the track. And did you help him work on these cars? Like
always,
you were always there. Okay.
I was always in the garage. And then my first car was a Nissan Patrol.
Oh, that's
the truck.
The truck, yeah, right.
Well, it was like the little SUV. It was a 1969.
Yeah.
We registered it as a 1964 because there were so few of them and they were so rare. And I've already checked the statute of limitations on this story, so we're good. California had done that. We're going to do a 25-year rolling window of no emissions, but they never rolled the window. So at the time, 1967 was the cutoff. So if you had a 67 vehicle, you didn't have to do emissions. And so it was a 69, so we registered as a 64. They couldn't tell the difference, and we didn't have to worry about emissions. So what it was is it looked like a bastardized version of the Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yeah, it's like an FJ40 plus Jeep.
And a Land Rover.
Yeah.
And so it had the flat fenders, and it had the little removable metal top, and it had the fold-down windshield. But this was actually the first Nissan. They were still making Datsuns. It had the same motor as the Datsun 240, but instead of being overhead cam, it was just overhead valve. Cam and block.
Okay.
3-speed, 4-wheel drive, transfer case, and the e-brake was like this little miniature reverse drum brake that clamped around the drive shaft.
The drive shaft, yeah.
Didn't work.
The car didn't weigh that much.
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
and
no,
so
anything.
once we got it, blah, 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 later in life, it was nice and running and stuff. If you left it in gear with the e-brake on, touch the starter, it would just come to life and crawl over anything in its way. Just be like, God damn it, gotta go get that back.
Somebody get the car back.
Yeah, somebody,
please.
because you'd be in a parking lot and it would just go over every parking thing, just dunk, 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 dunk. Wouldn't stall, and it would just, oh, damn it.
The car's trying to run away again, Mom.
But so the thing had been sitting in my mom's sisters, my aunts, like back field area, hadn't run. The head had frozen and popped a hole in it. And so they said my dad bought it off of her when I was 15 and a half. And he said that if I wanted to drive when I'm 16, then I should probably get to work. And we didn't realize how rare this thing was. There were only 8 of them left in the state by the time I had it.
So you weren't exactly going to go out and buy a parts car then?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So I found 2 pistons at my local dealership. They just happened to be on the shelf.
You pop the hood, you just pull them right out.
Yeah.
Well, pistons probably cross over. It's the other stuff that doesn't, right?
No, pistons were weird. All sorts of. We found pistons on a shelf in one place in Ohio. We had to find pistons from all over the place. And then on because this is late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So this is some internet AOL chat room type stuff. I found out about some guy out of San Francisco that was a total Nissan Patrol head, and he had one. And so we started talking, and he had a bunch of parts, and mine came with a whole bunch of parts in the back, but it didn't come with a head. Well, he had a head. And so he hits me up and goes, I want, what do you have? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Why don't you come? I got all sorts of weird parts, but I need that head.
Yeah.
So he drove the head down. Him and his wife came down, and he starts going through all my parts, and he goes, are those a set of axles? They were brand new old stock rear axles. And I go, yeah. And he goes, boom, I'll trade you straight across for the head. I'm like, oh, okay.
Can't use them for barbecuing anymore, Dad.
Yeah, right. And it's so all of a sudden we get a head, get the pistons, put it all together, get it running, clean it up a little bit. Thing was a champion. Well, 16. It's 1996. So
God, you're as old as we are.
I know. So we're all the same ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's doing burnouts on the way home from school.
On its own, of course.
Yeah. Strange how they do
dude,
that.
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Just one-legged, one-tire fire. Well, then I'm a button pusher. That's how I like cars and electronics. It's like, it doesn't have an eject seat. It doesn't have it's self-destruct. Mm-hmm. So what's this button do? What's this button do? So I experimented with a clutch kick.
Okay.
On tires that were already on like my 3rd or 4th burnout. So they were warm polyester tires.
Oh.
And I clutch kick and just snap.
Did you snap the axles you needed?
The rear axle.
Oh, imagine that.
You're like, I know a guy who has those.
And so I call the guy up, and he literally just starts laughing on the phone. And and so I'm totally screwed. Oh, yeah, by the way, another thing, if you snap an axle, 4-wheel drive, just put it in 4-wheel drive and drive yourself home on front-wheel drive.
Front-wheel drive, yeah.
So,
yeah, we had a buddy that did that outside a bar. He did a burnout in his Chevrolet truck and had to drive home.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian.
Yep. I had a buddy do that in a Blazer. Yeah. So
pretty much.
Chevys.
Yep.
My dad, being from Monterey, pulls the axle out, drives over to a farm town called Watsonville, and that's where
we've been through Watsonville.
A lot of artichoke fields, and so
Yeah.
they've got tons of machinery.
Yeah.
Really bumpy roads.
Yep.
Yes, they did.
Oh, God. So my dad takes it over there and, hey, can you weld up this axle? And the guy's like, sure, it's going to break again, but I can weld it. The guy ended up welding that axle for me like 3 or 4 times. And it just kept welding it, and it just kept snapping. And he just kept welding it. And
because you kept doing clutch kicks.
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I was going to say, you didn't change your driving behavior. Yeah.
Oh, dude. So one day it caught on fire because I learned.
That escalated quickly.
Oh, so one day I learned that going through the tunnel in Monterey, going into.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Which tunnel?
Huh? Going to that tunnel. Man, I got another good story about that I've already checked the statute of limitations on that one, too. But so we're going through the tunnel, and I would turn off the ignition, but leave it in gear. And it would just load the cylinders up with gas. And I would turn it back on, and it would kaboom, like potato gun status.
What's wrong with you two? I've never even heard of that before. Does that work on a Subaru?
No, but it'll work on the Triumph.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
They won't recover from it, but it'll work once.
Sounds like a really good way to send the head through the roof.
Yeah.
and so I'm doing this, and it's awesome because you can do the boom, but you're mobile. You're already going. You don't.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get caught. So, in the course of doing this, the car starts to sound better. So I assumed that it was knocking out the packing of my glass pack. What it was actually doing was knocking out the donut off the exhaust manifold.
Oh.
And so now it started to have an exhaust leak that was really, really hot exhaust gas right off the manifold. And it ended up melting my harness.
Oh.
So Highway 68 by the racetrack.
Yeah.
In high school, I'm dating this girl that lives up in this gated community, and it had this magnetic gate. And I found out because I'm a button pusher, I found out that if you bump it with your Jeep or your Nissan Patrol and it breaks the magnet,
It just opens.
it thinks, oh, the magnet's been released. I'm supposed to open. And the thing would use its own motor to open up. You'd go through it. It would close itself up. And I was like, oh, this is great security, guys. But
He's got those new magnet doors on the bar.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out at my girlfriend's house, and it's like, oh, well, time to go home. Huh? High school student. And I'm driving down this hill down towards Highway 68. And you've seen all those hillsides and driving down.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, headlights go out. And I'm like,
At night?
yeah. And
Oh.
I'm like, oh, this is
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, it's dark out there, too.
this is spicy.
Yeah.
So
This is-
so I'm like, okay, and I get through, and I'm like, okay, well, getting up to the gate, and boom, motor dies. Huh? That's weird. And I pull up to the gate, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, well, diagnose, nothing's on. And then all of a sudden, I can see this little flicker under the hood, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
oh, that's not good. So I get out.
That's an active light.
Yeah, that's the old school check engine light.
Yeah.
So I get out, and it's on fire, and it's like, that's on fire. And I'm like, okay, and I don't have an extinguisher because I'm 16. And I go to the little touchpad because luckily it's a gated community. And I enter in the code for my girlfriend's house, and she answers the phone. I'm like, what? Like, obviously it's me calling. Why are you calling? I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? Car's on fire. And she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, no. It's like,
Oh, yeah, it really is.
it's
Yeah.
fully on fire. Like, call the
Trust
fire.
me, I can see it.
Yeah, call
Yeah.
the fire department.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
pitter patter, let's go.
Good thing those hills are never dry.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
And so she comes running down the hill, or comes driving down the hill. The fire department shows up, puts it all out. But yeah,
Did it total it?
no,
No?
It's an old Nissan, old Datsun basically. So there's like 12 wires, including the
Right.
stereo.
The harness
So-
is just like, you can literally like look at it and trace it. It's not a bundle.
You could make half of it out of coat hanger if you need to.
right.
So-
I got some old speaker wire. We'll be fine.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So we made a new harness
Stereo
for it.
doesn't work, but it fires.
So we ended up towing it back to the house, making a new harness for it, and sold it to my brother-in-law, and then my brother-in-law sold it back to me, and then it went off into the wind, one of those things.
So that was the first one. Did your dad help you rebuild it? Like, or was it one of these things?
Oh,
like where he said-
fully.
Okay, because he was obviously he was doing this. Was he rebuilding these cars around the world while in the Air Force, or was he just doing it when he was
So
in
by
Monterey?
that time, it was only in the States. No, so he had a 62 Corvette, which was that
Cool.
was the first one that I was around for. So he had that one in Anchorage, Alaska.
Whoa.
Great place for a vet.
Oh, dude,
Right?
fully.
Yeah,
He got it
lots
painted.
of ground clearance up there.
2 months of driving season.
So how familiar are you guys with military? Like, so have you ever heard of a hobby shop on military bases?
I mean,
Yeah.
depending on, under a different name maybe. Are you talking about like
No, it's where it's like the local like community shop where you can go and do stuff with your family, right?
It's a car shop. And
Yeah.
pretty much.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Pretty much every Air Force base, Army base, Navy base has some sort of what's called the hobby shop. The one at Fort Ord, when I grew up in Monterey, Fort Ord, 40 bays.
Whoa.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
All of them have air and water. All of them have electricity.
Full set of tools, kind of thing.
Then there's a paint booth. There's a couple of alignment racks. There's welders. There's lifts. There's 4-post lifts. There's 2-post lifts. And then there's like a tool cabinet, like straight up, like you work at Boeing, and there's a tool cabinet, and there's a dude in there, and you go out there and you just check out tools. And then if you go in there and you're not a prick and you're respectful of the tools and you have competence of certain things, some of the guys there can check you out on certain tools, and all of a sudden, you can use this tool, you can use that tool, and you can check out bigger and better tools and
you
do
have to get
stuff.
checked out to use your own tools?
They're not your tools.
Oh, sorry. Okay, got it. Okay,
And they belong to the U.S. government.
Oh, got it. Belongs to the government.
Yeah. And so you just go in there, and they've got every tool you could ever imagine.
Okay.
And it's for morale. Sure.
Sure.
And so there's a Mustang that I was there that the 10 years that I lived in Monterey going there, this Mustang belonged to probably 6 different people. And it was like Fast and the Furious type thing. In Tokyo Drift, when he's got that Mustang. And it was just military guy was working on it, and then you bought it, and then you sold it, and then you got and you were never going to take it to your next place. And so it was just your hobby, and you just spent time, energy, money working on it, and then whatever you had into it, you'd go to the next guy and be like, look, this is what I bought it for, this is what I have into it.
Yeah, take over.
Get me out, and then so
you and being a child of an officer or somebody in the military, you could go work there.
being a dependent, I had an ID card until I was 21 or something like that, and so I could go out there and I could use the tools, I could use the lift, stuff like that, and so there was a hobby shop in Alaska. My dad had this 62 Corvette, and there was a guy in the military that in his former life had been a painter. So he would just kind of hang around the hobby shop, and he'd paint your car.
That's cool.
And so he would tell you what to do, what the body work to do, and then you would either do the body work at the hobby shop or you'd take it home, like my dad, because my dad had a little carport at his place, and so it was easier for him to do it at home. But he would do all the body work, and then he'd show up, and the guy would be like, okay, well, you missed a spot here, so finish this up better, or it's going to look like shit, or finish this up. No. And then the guy would help you do like the final little sand, and then
He'd paint it.
He'd pull it in the booth and squirt it. And so he ended up buying this Corvette, had it painted in Alaska, got it shipped to Virginia because he was stationed at the Pentagon at that time now. And then we had this carport, and I remember him taking the thing all the way apart. He didn't separate the body from the frame, but he took everything off it, and everything was in baggies just in this carport.
Oh, getting ready to transport it?
No.
Oh.
After he got it painted, now he took the whole thing all the way apart, and then he did the restoration.
Yeah.
And it was the 327 4-speed, 340 horse.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice car.
Thing was so cool.
So, I mean, obviously you're learning some mechanical knowledge, which kind of led to your career path here. True? So when you came out of high school, did you go to college after that, or did you go start looking for a mechanical job kind of thing?
I played soccer all my life, and then that led to playing football. My senior year of high school as a kicker. I was decent at it, so then I went to the local junior college and played football for a couple of years. And then I had opportunity to go play football for D1 and smashed my knee into a dashboard, wrecking a Sunbeam Tiger at Laguna Seca.
Ooh.
And
Cool car.
happen, yeah.
Painful accident.
lost all my scholarships because I couldn't kick anymore.
Right.
Messed up my knee. So wanted to be into cars and ended up getting into street racing. So
Happens over here all the time. You think you're in your bed, next thing you know, you're in the Subaru down in Kent, racing the back streets.
So we were going to Salinas, and after running from the cops, and
You didn't still have the Nissan, did you? Like, were you building other cars? At the time?
no, at this point now I had because it was the beginning of the sport compact craze. This was 1998.
Yeah, Fast and Furious didn't come out till '99.
And
Yeah.
so
a sport compact car and all that had just hit the market. Yeah.
and so everybody's building Hondas, and I always liked the Euros, so I built a Golf.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Golfs, you couldn't build the power with those. You still can't.
Yeah.
And so I would go hustle people and go lose in the quarter mile and then go beat them in the mile. We'd go a quarter mile within a 3/4 mile twisties. So I'd go lose money in the quarter, and they could see that they were faster than me, but they didn't know that I could outdrive them. So then I'd go hustle money. And so it got to the point where I was going to either end up in jail or dead.
Yeah.
So I moved to Colorado, got into downhill mountain biking, and learned how to tune skis and did that for a little bit.
A lot of downhill mountain biking around here. That is for sure.
Tons.
It's a huge thing here.
Tons. And so much cool stuff. So ended up being out in Aspen, worked there for a couple of years, and then I got a phone call that a guy that I had worked with in California Ford was going to race the GT. This was 2003. And Ford was going to race the new GT, and so I had an opportunity to get in as a mechanic on the program.
Oh, cool!
And so,
did you go to mechanic school for this though?
Okay,
not
yet.
Just natural. Well, there are a lot of mechanics out there that have that.
No,
it's just
and so
natural knowledge.
Yeah.
And I had worked with different people in Monterey, and I'd worked at some different stuff, and I'd worked at some different pretty exclusive shops that were at the Monterey airport.
Yeah.
There's a business park there that's like you talked about that. There's some cars up there, man, that just you don't even know about. It's just so cool. And so I got to work in those. And so by learning some of these things and doing that, I got this opportunity. And it turned out that it was all a lie. The guy was a pathological liar.
Oh.
And so I had given up my apartment. I'd moved my entire life. I'd moved back home into my parents' garage, because it was just going to be like a temporary until I'm off to Detroit. And then the whole thing was a fabrication. So now I was...
Because Ford didn't take the 03 GT. Did they take it racing?
They did eventually.
They did eventually, but I remember when the latest body style came out and they went back to Le Mans and just kicked ass.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So it was a big blow. So I was 23, and so that's when I learned about the Jim Russell Mechanics Training Program that was at Sonoma.
With that, you basically had to go. You had to pay them to be their mechanic. How's that work?
So it's
sounds like a hell of a deal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the thing with that. It had been going on for probably 20-something years. It started at Laguna Seca, and then it took it up to Sonoma when Skip Barber and Jim Russell switched schools or switched tracks. It used to be you paid like $1,000. They provided your tools. You had to work on the cars, but you got to drive them. You got to test them. You got to go drive them. Every time we're like, oh, we put a new gearbox in 14. I better go put some laps on it. And and then they had a race series, and they had a customer. So they were a Hayashi chassis. You're familiar with the rotary, the Mazda, the Pro Mazda?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The old school one with the white wing.
Yep.
So the school had chassis made out of Japan from Hayashi, the company that made them originally. And then once we got them in the States and they started racing them and wrecking them and fixing them and all this different stuff, that's when Star Mazda came out, and they started. And that's when they did the carbon fiber ones that they had a carbon fiber by Elan and blah blah blah. Anyway, but the Mazdas, they had a fleet of 20 carbureted 13B rotary Mazdas, Hewland 4-speed, and they would do a race series. And so they would have Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, based on times, and you would pay to do this like 13, 15 race series. And it was Saturday, Sunday, and then next month there'd be a Saturday and a Sunday, and then next month there'd be a, whatever it was.
While the whole time going to school?
No, this was, and then there was the racing schools.
Okay.
So that's when you come and do your 3-day racing school and get your SCCA license. And then you come back and you do your advanced 3-day racing school. Or you come in and do your 1-day, toe tip, taste it, do I like racing school. And so we have students that are coming into the driving schools. And then so we are the mechanics that keep the cars running. So
Which is easy on rotary engines, right? Dan?
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to keep those going.
Super reliable.
Yeah.
and
Just
when-
LS swap it and you're fine.
Yep.
And when they're wrecking, sometimes 3 cars in a day, 7 cars in a day. One time we had 18 cars wrecked in one day. And so by the time I entered into it, ESPN came come on to sponsor it for 1 year.
Okay. Good old Espen.
And they couldn't agree on a logo. And is it going to be the Jim Russell Racing School by ESPN, or is it going to be the ESPN Russell Racing School? All the
Stuff that really matters.
Yeah, so I show up. I'm, at this age, I'm 23. I'm kind of jaded by racing right now.
And you need a job.
And I need a job, so I
Yeah.
need to do the school to get the job. And I'm getting there, and they're talking about how we don't have T-shirts. I'm like, okay, I have T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have your toolboxes yet because we didn't agree if we were going to do the snap-ons or the betas. And I'm like, so you guys have been doing this school for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And you have new students show up every 6 months, and you don't have T-shirts, and you don't have tools. Like, it was this big thing, and it was just because of all the corporate had now gotten involved on this small school.
Yeah.
So by the time I joined, it was because, like I said before, it was like $1,000, but it was for the racers that couldn't afford to race.
Yeah.
So you had to be a mechanic, so that you got to race this way. So now this was more. It was $5,000 when I went there, but it was more for people that were super into racing and wanted to be a mechanic, or they really liked being a mechanic and they didn't want to be a streetcar mechanic. They didn't want to go change water pumps on an 84 Buick.
Right.
But
yeah.
but was the school up at Sonoma?
It was at the track at Sonoma.
Okay.
So
Have you been there, Dan? I have
No.
never been there. Okay. I know some of our friends that have raced Lemon's cars have been there. But
Yeah.
how far is
a lot
that
of French drivers
from,
will pass.
from there, from Monterey? Like, were you commuting from Monterey?
no, I ended up moving
Moving up, okay.
to that area. So
Okay.
it's about it's like 3 hours away
Okay.
from
Yeah.
Monterey. So then I ended up being at the racing school there. It was very eye-opening for me because some of my classmates were very young and they were just there to instead of going to college.
Right.
Some of them were there because they wanted to race cars, but they couldn't afford it, and so they were doing the mechanic thing. Me, this was in my mind like my college. This was my last, not my last chance, but it was like, this is like I need to get going, otherwise it's going to be way too late.
But this is how you get your toe in the door as a mechanic to be able to eventually turn it into a racing career.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard
So-
to take on a new trade when you're in your late 20s or early 30s. You start early, you can make a hell of a living at it. But
And-
jumping into a trade school later in life is difficult. It's not impossible.
And being
all the young
18,
Yeah.
being 18 and crashing on a couch, and being 23 and crashing on a couch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's physically it sucks, but it's also your morale, your mental state of, yes, I'm working towards this, but am I getting there? And so so I had a driven purpose of being there. It wasn't just to be fun. It was like, let's get the piece of paper and let's get out there and let's start doing this.
Sure.
So I went to the school, started doing the thing, working on the cars, meeting people. But it was so fun because, like you said, Laguna Seca, it's a park that has a racetrack and other stuff. This was a professional racetrack.
Surrounded by vineyards and wine.
Yeah.
But there's also shops.
Yeah.
Like, there's race shops there. There's
The whole community is based around Sonoma.
and,
the
and
raceway.
there's and there's racing, and they don't take, like, Laguna Seca takes the banners down when there's not racing.
Yeah.
When you go up there, like, there's still all the banners from the last NASCAR race. And
That's right. I forgot NASCAR races there.
yeah, and
You
so
have
all
to
of a
turn right.
Yeah.
yeah, and so all of a sudden it's a real racetrack. And I was there, I think my first year I was there 320 something days, 324 days or something like that in one year. And I loved it. And then after work, sometimes 18-hour days, I was going and working at a Subaru shop and doing performance work at a Subaru shop because I loved it. It was
That's a dark hole, getting into Subarus.
oh god, yeah. But I just loved it. And I wasn't sitting there looking at car magazines with my buddies. I was working on real cars.
Yeah.
And then cars that would be in the magazines are literally getting pushed by guys like me that have just proven their worth, learned, grown. And so all of a sudden, racing's the circus. Before the circus comes to town, they come up and they put posters.
Yeah.
Circus is coming to town. Come see the bastes. Come see the wild trapeze. You might see somebody get killed. Mm-hmm. And then all the trucks arrive. And they start to set up the trailers. And they start to set up the tents. And then they start bringing out all the beasts. And then all the beasts come out of the Trent. And then they bring them, and the trainers are there. And they're tuning them up. And they're, oh, you're getting too spicy. Oh, this one, oh. And they're getting it, everything's going. And then the show comes out. And then the Grand Master comes out, and he introduces everybody. And then the show happens. And you see triumph, and you see defeat, and you may see death. And then they start packing up all the beasts, and they start putting it all away. And then somebody's going to the next town, putting up posters that the circus is coming to town. And
it's a good analogy.
And all of a sudden, it was racing. The coolest part about being a race car mechanic, like a pro race car mechanic on the road, was walking in the airport in your travel gear. Because in the rest of the time, I worked on a pro team that you weren't allowed within 100. You weren't allowed to go further than 100 feet from the trailer. If you couldn't see the trailer, you went too far.
Just in case they needed you.
The hell are you there for?
Yeah.
You're there to work on the beasts. You're not there to go take pictures. You're not there to go try to see if they have really good bratwurst at this stand. No, you work on the thing. If they come in and they want new transmission gears, you're going to go burn your little hands and change the hot gears because there's 12 minutes left in this session. Change the gears.
Yeah.
So, but then all of a sudden, you've got sponsors. So now when you're changing the gears, you can't change the gears here and get crap all over your shirt. Because all of a sudden they call up on TV and go, why is there crap on my logo? There's not crap on his logo.
Oh, man.
So now you have to carry hot gears in a pizza tray that's all twisted up. You have to carry it out here. Because you can't wear an apron. That'll cover up logos.
Oh, man, I didn't think about any of that.
And you have to do it with a smile. You're a cheerleader. You ever see the cheerleaders and they're always talking about da-da-da-da-da, and they always have that weird smile on their face the entire time?
Like they got a shot
the
collar
visual
on.
you're painting of you in a cheerleading outfit is not one I'm enjoying. I mean, it's not horrible, but yeah. So, yeah.
But so that's what ends up happening is you are doing this. It's a show. And so as I learned that the higher up you go in racing, depending upon the team, the less you do.
Your job is more defined, you mean?
Way more defined.
You're the tire guy, you're the transmission guy, you're the brake guy, things like that.
And then all of a sudden you get to being, no, you're the left front tire guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I've been on teams where it's like, okay, you, dude, those 3 cars. You're like, huh? Yeah, whatever those 3 cars need.
is you, one guy. Yeah.
You're like, okay, what?
Oops.
They're in different sessions, right?
But I was
like,
the left tire guy. Yeah. No, they all have to be ready. Yeah.
No, they're all
Same
going
time.
out in 12 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then as you go up, you do less, but you do more because you are cognizant of your shoes matching the logo. If they're not even providing you shoes, if they're not providing you a uniform that intricate, you don't go out and buy shoes with neon yellow if you have neon orange in your logo.
Right.
Either go buy black shoes or find shoes that have orange in it. And all of a sudden, I started seeing these men and women. I'll never forget this engineer, Ranu. She was just an amazing, amazing engineer. And her professionalism taught me. I still learn things that I didn't understand what she meant. And now, years later, doing stuff, working with my group, working with my staff here at the bar, working in the shop, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's what you meant.
Your aha moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that the higher up in racing, once you get to F1 and you see those guys and you watch them get hit by a car coming in and they stand up and they move. They don't run. They finish the job and then
Yeah.
and you're like,
You bleed over the barrier, son.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's this, and it's a mindset, and you watch it as just to see how fast people do things, how accurately they do it, and with precision, and it's not by chance, and it's that, and so it was fun to go through different levels of racing because, I mean, I started at Soapbox Derby. And then to be able to be at Montreal and to be in the F1 pit lanes. And we were doing a support race, and to have the F1 mechanics from Ferrari come over and say, hey, would you like us to turn on all of our monitors so that you can watch the circuit? Because we just happened to be right there with all of our little, we have like little wagons that we have to run up with because they have all their stuff permanently set up for the weekend. And they've got all these monitors, and it's all carbon fiber and all red and all these monitors. And he goes, you want us to turn it on? It's like, this is too cool. He's like, don't touch anything. You can't sit here, but you can watch all the monitors. And we're sitting there, we're checking it out.
Get back to work.
And we're just sitting there, and we're watching. And, hey, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah, what's up? I go, why do you guys have that extra monitor there? Just one, it's like, because all of them are all gorgeous in this carbon fiber housing. And this one looked like it was kind of added on there. It's like, what's that one for? He's like, we have 21 monitors. So he's like, McLaren has 20. And just turned around.
One more. I think we're about ready for our first break or second break. Are we not? Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for our second break. But we'll talk more when we get back. I want to know how you got into Washington and then to the tavern. We'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
And we're back. So
I never want to leave.
I know. You've made an early life of racing at the track and everything else. We are going to get into the rest of that on our next episode. Actually, this is a two-part episode because you have actually worked a lot up here, and a lot of people know you from that up here. But I want to get into just while we are here, how did you get into the Mt Si Tavern?
Motorcycles.
Yeah. Tell us about your love of motorcycles a little bit. Because you have a really cool motorcycle collection. Really cool.
I'll just step out here, not being the motorcycle guy here. So
well, there's one that you recognize right away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. But, I mean, you have an impressive shop. Thank you for the tour earlier. But,
thank you.
Let's tell the listeners about the story of how you acquired the Mt Si Tavern.
So I was living in Bellevue. I would ride my motorcycle, a little Triumph, out to this bar. And I just absolutely fell in love with this place. It looks like a dive bar. It feels like a dive bar.
It has been a dive bar since 1923.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's dollar bills on the walls. There's posters in the bathroom of the 80s bathing suit girls. Mm-hmm. Like it's just.
Lots of good quotes on the wall. Most of them we can't say on the air.
Oh, man, there's a couple of behind you that I've just been laughing at.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely fell in love with it. And it was one of those things where the place is very, very friendly. And I met the owner almost immediately. I told him, just kind of joking around, but, there's truth in every joke. I'm just like, hey, man, you ever want to sell this place? Let me know. Ended up moving here about 5 years ago, moving to North Bend, and started just I knew I was going to drink here. It's
someplace you can stumble home from.
Oh, yeah. The very first time I came in here, I made friends with one of the bartenders. I'm still good friends with him. Him and his fiancée go on vacation with us. Like, I felt at home.
Yeah.
I have a train horn on one of my trucks, and if I give 2 blasts of my train horn, my beer will be sitting on the counter. I don't have to order it. And so I kept telling the owner, you want to sell this place? Let me know. You want to sell this place? Let me know. One day he goes, hey, I want to sell this place. And I was like, really? And he goes, I want to sell it to you. And I was like, okay, I'm honored.
Yeah, because you don't just sell this a place like this to the first guy that comes down the road. You got to kind of prove yourself. This is different.
And that's the thing. And so my landlord, he owned this place. He's owned it for probably 30, 35 years, but he ran the bar 20-something years ago. And then when he decided he didn't want to run the bar anymore, he sold the business, but he kept the land. And he sold the business to the guy, and the guy started changing this and started changing that and started doing all this stuff. And Mike came in there and said, nope, here's your money back. I'm taking my bar back. You're not changing my bar. So then it went through a couple other owners, and then now we've got it. And it's just, I've always loved this place. It's like I said, I want it to look like a dive bar. I want it to feel like a dive bar.
But you want everything to work.
So you had to do nothing. No.
Well, we, as one of our very, very wonderful, kind patrons said after we came in, they said, well, there's something different. You changed something. I can tell. You got rid of the smell. And I was like, well, if that's the only thing that you're going to say we got rid of, then that's
That's part of its
perfect.
character, though.
Yeah, right. But I also wanted to change the food. I wanted to make the food better because before it was a little dive bar food.
Yeah, we've been into plenty of dive bars. We have a menu, and it's literally a toaster oven, if you're lucky.
Oh yeah,
Anything you want from Costco, we'll make it in the oven.
Yeah,
Yes,
they got Chef Mike.
pretty much.
I was at a dive bar outside of Dublin, and they had two things in the menu. They had the chips and stuff you could just pull off the counter and stuff, but they had sandwiches. You could have a ham and cheese sandwich or a cheese sandwich.
And the cheese was just one with ham pulled off?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were all pre-made. You just took the ham off and put it on the sandwich.
And if you order correctly at the end of the week, you get the one with all the ham on it.
Yeah. So did you buy the business and the building?
So we're in the process of building the building. So we're
Okay.
buying the little house next door that comes on it because we want to have the building, and then we also once live music comes back. So right now we're renting the little house next door, so that when live music comes back, that'll be a place for the band to be able to stay, and so that way we can get bands from farther away. And because right now a lot of the times the band would show up, play, and then they have to break down, load up, and leave.
Right.
And so now it's just like leave everything set up, come have a drink,
Yeah, hang out,
hang
worry
out,
about it the next morning,
crash,
and that's
pack up, and leave.
That's really cool because now you're making it a destination not only for people, but for
the
bands. Like they're like, you can go play this awesome spot where we can just hang out and chill and just have fun being a band and not like
Totally.
work until 4 a.m.
And I'm by one of my 1,000 hobbies is you guys saw my little studio that I've been building at the house.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to offer you can come to my bar and I'm going to make you sound awesome. Like I guarantee, because I want it to sound good because I have to listen to it. I want my people to listen to it. And I want you to sound good because
He should book Rascal Flatts. They suck. Sorry. I love country music, but somebody needs to do something with them. No, okay, sorry. Okay. I'll write the email. Dear Rascal Flatts.
Dear Rascal,
you should
you
come
suck.
here. Okay,
you,
yeah.
you leave it, but you scratch it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
you're awesome.
your stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
It's unique.
It was just the first thing in my head. I'm like,
You covered a one-hit wonder country song, and you still sucked at it.
we get it. Life is a highway. Move on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Even that guy was disappointed.
Right?
But anyway, there's
So we are
Tom Cochran, I think his name was. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the process of getting the land and getting that all going up, and because they're doing a lot of building right now in North Bend, a lot of building. So
Yeah, I'm just twisting the knife in my heart as I look for property.
oh man, seriously, it's
What are squatters' rights out here?
I know, because we'd move into your shop.
I found this property earlier tonight that it's big enough that I don't know if he'd know if we were there. Just saying, yeah. We'd have to poop in the corner, but other than that,
whatever.
we've done that in a
I
dive
got
bar before.
buckets. Home Depot
So
buckets.
yeah, Home Depot buckets. Yeah, you got the Christmas
The
buckets.
trailer
right?
hitch one.
Absolutely,
and the bumper dumper.
Yeah,
bumper
bumper
dumpers.
dumper.
Yeah,
There you go.
for every classic rap.
I'm going to take a photo of that. You guys got to check that out.
Yeah.
Our listeners would be like, what in the world? Yep, it's true.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, check it out, bumper dumper.
Yep. Free plug.
Yeah, no.
Boom, boom. Unplug. Yeah.
Yeah, you will. So going to Baja
Yeah.
with the trucks.
Yeah.
You will notice that there is a roll of toilet paper in every truck I own.
Well, I have one. And wipes.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Jambalaya on a Friday does not equal off-roading on a Saturday.
Well, no.
No, it does not.
And as my Canadian snowmobile friends told me, that you can't take a shit without your shit tickets. So if you don't have shit tickets, you can't go take it.
Tickets to the show.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I'm still not sold on the bumper dumper. I'm just going to say it. Because there's a driving issue. Because if you drive forward, then all of that stuff, you're basically dragging your feet through it. If you drive backwards, then the person's eventually going to see what you did.
No, you back into the bank to where it's the ditch, so you're over the ditch.
I see. Okay.
I've thought about this.
Oh, okay.
We're fine.
Okay, good.
I got you covered, man.
No more pooping in the snow. Yay me.
Yeah, you just get on the
I'm the gumbo
You
guy.
get on the dumper, you back over the ditch,
I see,
and then
okay.
when you're ready, I just pull forward.
Ah, got it. Okay, good to know.
So
I got you, man.
pro tip on that is you
God.
go to the top of a mountain. and you just back
Back
out.
off a cliff.
No, not over the cliff, because that starts to get that'll like scare it out of you.
Yeah. That's the point.
But give yourself a view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a view. It was a wonderful view.
Scenic
View.
dump.
Yeah, scenic view. But yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway.
you can just pre-drill a series of holes, and then you just drive forward and
Pretty
drive
much.
forward and drive forward.
That works too. I didn't think about
Bathrooms here are nice. I can attest to that.
They are. They are.
That was one of the things that we tore them apart. And
You did a nice job.
thank you. That was one of the things. Is everything has a silver lining. Everything always has a silver lining. So we took over the bar June 1st. Like, we couldn't even be open when we took over the bar.
Yeah.
So we took that time is when do you get to shut down a bar?
Yeah,
When do you,
exactly.
Everything you have to do happens to happen between 2 a.m. and noon. So having the bar be shut down for the first 2 weeks we owned it actually was a blessing in disguise, because we were able to come in here, get some work done, tear some things up,
Get
move
rid
some
of the stench.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get rid of the stench.
I never thought it was that bad.
No.
When you opened the front door and the back door, it kind of blew out. But it's,
No, we have been in dive bars where, like, the first thing you walk in and you smell piss.
Yep.
We have been in those bars.
Oh, yeah.
Which are
What's the dive bar down on the Oregon coast we always go to?
what is that place?
That one needs.
Yep, that one does.
Well, to be fair, that's a dive bar / laundry mat. So.
Yes.
Oh, a sit and spin.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah,
from
bleach
Costco.
and piss, that's what it
Bleach
smells
and
like.
piss, Yeah. Or yeah.
High school.
Yeah. Anyway,
we went to different high schools.
so you got the tavern, and it's awesome. And
So, yeah.
the food menu, I saw you guys got 2 big smokers out back now. What is the plan for reopening? Have you got any inside news? Are you shut down until the 21st, like everything else, or whatever
as
it
of
is?
right now, we do have an outdoor patio, so we can do outdoor seating.
Okay.
But the weather out here has been so gnarly. A couple of the other places in town have tried doing tents. One of them has had the roof ripped off the tent a couple times.
Yeah, it's windy out here. People don't think about that.
It gets insanely windy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it's cold.
Yeah.
For my staff, they, obviously they have their hourly, but it's service industry. They work on tips.
Yeah.
And if people aren't coming in, they're not getting tips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So right now, for the safety of our staff and just for financial reasons for them, by being closed, it allows them to go on unemployment,
Yeah.
which is just so frustrating with everything that's going on right now and coming into the holidays. So we're doing everything we can to help them out, obviously. But
Yeah, we're not exactly in a small business friendly state. This is not a small business friendly time, but especially state.
No, they care about businesses. Remember, they canceled everything except Black Friday. That means they care about businesses.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, did I say it again? Oops.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you can't get COVID out if you're in a tent.
Oh, no.
I drove through Woodinville today, and like all the wineries have these giant tents set up, and I'm like, at what point is this a freaking building?
And there's
Sorry, I'm just
no,
annoyed.
and there's very defined rules of. So, I'm a racer.
Yeah.
So people come into the bar all the time when we were open, and hey, David, what's your political standpoint on this? What do you vote? What is your thought on this? What's your thought on all this? And I told everybody, being a racer, there's certain rules.
Just so we're clear, racer.
Racer.
Not a racist, a racer.
race car
driver.
enthusiast,
Yeah,
race car
there we go,
driver.
yeah.
Motorcycle racer.
As a motorsports
There you go.
enthusiast.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
Yeah.
There's rules.
Yeah.
The rule book says what you can and can't do. So it's our job to find out what they didn't say. But in the rules, it says that you have to wear fireproof socks. You have to. You have to wear fireproof socks. And if at the end of the race, they come up and go, hey, I want to see the inlet of your carburetor. I want to see that your helmet's in spec, and let me see your fireproof socks. Well, I was running around and forgot, and I got my regular socks on today. Okay, you're disqualified. You lose your points for the race. You lose your points for the championship. So now you've not won the race today. You have not won the championship. That could affect you. So people would ask me what I think about the masks. People would ask me what I think about having. It's like, well, if people don't have their masks on, and liquor control comes in here, I lose my liquor license. They could warn me, but they could take away my liquor license. And so it stops being about what I think or what I care. These are the rules. This is what you have to do this. And so for us to be open, we had to do these things. And so it changes the way you interact with people. But at the end of the day, the whole point of the bar, the whole point of the public house was that community, that interaction.
Yeah.
So if people weren't willing to follow the rules so that we could all go race or that we could all come play at the pub, then it was kind of all for naught. But now with the, if it was summer and we could only do outside,
Yeah, you're fine.
we'd be open.
Yeah.
But it's 40-something degrees,
Windy.
20-something mile-an-hour winds.
Then when it rains, it's like throwing ice at you. Yeah.
You can have a tent, but if it has more than 2 sides, it has to have positive ventilation. You has to be heated by a non-combustible, so it can't be a propane heater. Seating areas need to be given like 10 minutes of airing time between and wiped down. And so all of a sudden, it starts being like you're going to mess up.
Yeah, they want you to.
And they want you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're shut down, and then they can fine you.
Yep.
Yeah.
With all that money you're not making.
Oh, dude, the local city government just started following my bar's Facebook page today.
Ruh-roh.
And I was thinking to myself, it's like, why? So you can see if I'm doing something and then just literally just mail me a fine?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll literally get it on Facebook. I'll probably have to pay it through Facebook. But it was
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And would you like to boost this post?
Mm-hmm.
And
$5
so,
goes to Zuckerberg.
yeah, exactly. And so all of a sudden I was just like,
Androids are expensive.
those droids aren't cheap, man. They keep making those Zuckerbergs. But they, it's like you said, they're waiting.
You're in a different you're seeing it in a different way than some of us are.
Oh, yeah,
Because I'm sitting
for
there
sure.
going, my favorite dive bar's not open. But I'm not thinking about it in the fact of what it would cost you to open and build a tent and build air conditioning and build heating and build.
Yeah.
Why can't you just take the doors off and say it's a tent? It has positive airflow.
It does.
Yeah, exactly. Just take the
I mean, you don't even have to take the doors off. This
Fuck
place
that.
is pretty leaky.
Just get the, just
I mean, there's a couple of places I can show you that you can see daylight when you're
No.
out. You're like, whoa.
get those freezer doors like the old like the hanging rubber that went over each other.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
those. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Right.
Yeah. The old meat packing,
Yeah.
slapping things.
A couple of Bed Bath and Beyond shower curtains. We could do this, boys. I'm telling you. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good stuff. So we never did answer the question. Do you guys have a date you can actually reopen?
No.
There's nothing yet?
No.
I didn't think so, but I had to ask.
Yeah, so everything has been kicking the can every time they do it. And unfortunately, with the West Coast, as soon as somebody does something, the other states just follow. And California being super locked down right now, we're just waiting for the next round of whatever it's going to be. And so, but here's another fun one. So when they did the first lockdown in March, and they'd had that the business stimulus that came out,
Yeah.
you could get for employees size blah 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 blah, as long as you had
You can use the loan to pay the employees. As long as you didn't have to repay the loan.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as the employees were working for you before February 24th. Well, when they got to this last shutdown just now, they went right back to that.
Okay.
Well, I didn't own this place until June 1st. So technically, and I had to fire all the previous owner had to fire all the employees because I didn't buy his business. I bought the business from then I started. So I had to hire all the employees back.
Yeah.
So their hire date was June 1st.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And my business owner date is June 1st. So by starting the business in the pandemic, I don't qualify for anything.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
Ouch.
This is depressing.
Yeah. Well.
So as of right now, we've talked about doing takeout food, but at the end of the day, we're not known for that, and we've been a dive bar for so long with dive bar food that now we have good food and we could do some stuff, but people don't know us for that, and so all of a sudden,
You have to build a reputation before people can
Yeah.
rely on that.
Yeah.
and then so we end up wasting a lot of food and we're wasting a lot of time and energy and.
Yeah, and you got your killer setup for food. This is no longer crappy dive bar food. I've seen the menu.
No,
It looks
thank you, yeah.
delicious. I can't wait to come check it out, like when you guys are open.
Yeah, we were smoking 200 whole chickens a week. We were doing stuffing with chicken. We were doing
That's
flat.
a lot of weed.
Everybody, anytime somebody talks about chickens, I think about Blues Brothers. I mean, 2 whole fried chickens, some dry white toast, and a Coke.
Dude, so I talk
You
about
want wings or thighs?
when-
2 whole fried chickens.
So when I talk about with having bands, when we have live music, I want to offer that we'll hang chicken wire in front of it, and we'll do the full chicken
Oh,
shack.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Make them play Rawhide over
Yeah,
and over
exactly.
again. Yeah.
I was going to say straight up Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's
get the
Dalton. The
Yeah.
name is Dalton.
Yeah.
Get like the sugar beer bottles that you can throw at the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what you want to do. Teach these people to throw things. Where could that go wrong?
Well, this we got to wrap up this episode, but this is part 1 of 2 because your motorsports history didn't stop, obviously, with you down in California. In fact, you are heavily involved now, and more importantly, when this place opens back up, I hope our listeners take note because this is an awesome spot for all you motorcycle riders. Like, if you're a motorsports enthusiast, trust me, you want to come check this place out. Not only that, it's a great spot to start rallies, drives, everything, because you guys are right on the 3-pass or 4-pass loop if you're feeling really ambitious. But it's a great spot right off I-90. So super quick, super easy to meet, good food, awesome place.
Oh, yeah, we've got the up at the truck stop up here. We've got a Tesla charging station now. We've got a gas station that does ethanol free for anybody that's got cool cars and they don't want to make doing
motorcycles,
that kind of stuff.
especially.
Motorcycles.
You guys with the sleds, you guys don't want to run ethanol.
So this is a great, like you said, a great rendezvous point to then go meet up, go fuel up, go do a thing, and
go do some pass blasts, head up on your way up on to go do some off-roading. But as for the Avant side, obviously all the Avant stuff going forward has been canceled.
Mm-hmm. Till further notice.
Yeah, till further notice. Obviously not. Avance is doing great. In fact, good news on Avance issue number 2 of the Avance magazine. Nick and I both have an article that we co-wrote in there about Subies up on the Stampede Pass.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
We've talked about it. We couldn't talk about it until it came out, but that was a really fun day to do that. Yeah.
And now that it's out, we helped with the Lotus photo shoot. If you're a Lotus fan, even if you're not, you can't argue the iconic brand that is Lotus. We did an awesome photo shoot with some awesome people at Pacific Raceways. I mean,
that was fun.
That was
fun
really
too.
fun.
Yeah.
There's some really, really good stuff in here. Like you said, if you're a Road Rat fan, if you like magazines of a more personal flavor, of a more different flavor, this is not Motor Trend Car and Driver standard car reviews of specs. This is like actual get to know people. Really cool stuff in there. We can't wait for you guys to check it out.
There's a really cool Dirtfish article, and there's also an article on remote control cars. I think that'd be fun.
Cool, it's a really good mix.
Yep.
You guys got to check it out. Available at any place that's an Avance partner, so Park Place, Metropolitan, you name it.
And if you're an Avance member, I think they will send it to you.
Yeah, you should have one. If you updated your address on Avance.com, Nick, it'll be in your mailbox.
I sent Adam a message this week. It was too late to get this one. It's too late to get the episode that I helped write. So, yeah, it's okay. We're good.
But anyway, when we come back next week, you'll have episode 2 because we're going to talk about motorcycles, Baja, more road racing, Dirtfish, everywhere else you have been, because you have done a lot, and a lot of our listeners, a lot of our friends know you well beyond this. But, man, I would love to say come visit us at Mt Si Tavern. But, that's not going to happen for a little while. But it'll still be here when it's ready. So
I promise we'll be here.
Yes, and
so
we will tell you when it's here because we will come back and do a show from here and get you guys all hyped up. We'll do a little Rain City Supercars RCS meet at the Mt Si Tavern.
Oh, heck
that'll
yeah,
be a fun time.
That'll be awesome.
Excellent. Well, until the next episode, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.